Merci, Corina. So we switch to the third session, which is on reshaping of payment systems in Europe. So I will ask again Hervé and Corina to come on stage as moderators and ask the panelists. So Daniele Savare from SIA will be with us remotely. So Daniele is the Innovation and Business Solutions Director at SIA after an extensive experience in payments in different consulting firms and banks. He is now in charge of Innovation and Business Solutions Director in SIA, managing and developing digital and innovative payment services. I'm also asking Jacques Putz to come on stage. He will be, remotely on stage. So Jacques has been at the forefront of technology innovations in Luxembourg and is now CEO of a leading fintech in Luxembourg called LuxHub, which is a European hub for open banking access and acceleration for banks, financial institutions, and fintechs. And I'm also calling Rodolphe Meyer from STET. Rodolphe is a Deputy General Manager and on the board of STET, and he's also in charge of STET's strategic project after an extensive experience also in payments. Jacques Vernoter also will join us on stage. So Jacques is CEO of Cepamail.eu, a European market infrastructure in charge of secured emails exchanges between banks. And Jacques has an extensive also experience in Matif as CEO of Centrale des Règlements Interbancaires and of LCH ClearNet in France, and is now CEO of Cepamail since May 2015. So the stage is yours.
Thank you, Henning. Thank you for your introduction. Thank you, sir, to be with us. Thank you, Corina, to be also on the floor with me. We would like to begin this roundtable about the reshaping of payment system in Europe on one question. All your organization, if you are operator or scheme or whatever, each one of the organization are there around the table, are born in a domestic country in Europe. Now, we would like to understand how you have evolved from the domestic market to the European market up to now. I don't know, we will begin. Maybe Jacques, if you would like. Jacques,
yeah, I can start. So, first of all, I want to excuse myself that I cannot be in Paris myself. But you asked me why I'm European, but I'm coming from Luxembourg. And first and foremost, we exist largely because of EU legislation, namely PSD2. So without the decision by the European Union to take this forward-thinking approach for the payment sector, there wouldn't be any place for LuxHub in the European market. So we in Luxembourg, we have a lot of European institutions. We have a large financial marketplace here. We have 126 banks. So we are Europe. Let's see like this. And we also think like this, seeing that LuxHub is now, we have now 29 months. So we have 15 different nationalities in our team from 33 employees. We are active in 10 European markets for the PSD2 regulation. So we are really living Luxembourg. So, and we see us as European player. And so LuxHub was born to help banks for the PSD2, so to mutualize costs and also and that not only on the Luxembourgish scale, but really to offer a service, a high quality services to European banks and to offer infrastructure, security and authorization. So today by LuxHub, we are doing account aggregation, standardization of payments APIs. That's the reason why I'm here. And we want to help banks to accelerate their innovation in this upcoming API economy. So we don't compete. So we want just to collaborate and to help to collaborate with banks. Because we are really convinced that European collaboration is a key pillar of our business strategy in Europe. And that the future of open finance is only possible by collaboration. And our recent strategic partnership with Six Group really shows it, that it's a collaboration between different countries, the different big players, or even in our case, a small fintech, which have a European reach, together with a big Six Group, who have a lot of knowledge, a lot of customers. It makes sense to collaborate, not to acquire, but to collaborate and to take advantage of the different actors. And I think that needs to be the aim of Europe, to collaborate more together and to come out of this country-centric vision, like I see often in larger, biggest country in Europe. But to refer back to your initial question is on what it means to be European, quite simple. Europe and the European Union is a large-scale business and social-driven collaboration. And we embrace that and want to play our part in it when it comes to open banking and fintech as a whole. And so for us, really European is, we don't think so national. Really, no, we're really European. And I talk each day with different customers in the whole European place. So, but what we see quite often is when I pitch in France, in Germany, in Spain, it's still, but it's also difficult for me to understand this because I'm coming from quite European small country to collaborate, but the national thinking to have national solution is still there. So it's why I'm European, but because I'm convinced about it.
Thank you. Daniele, SIA, Società Italiana per l'automatisation at the beginning, now SIA, an international company, and you are in the first page of the newspaper last week about the merging with Nexi. Could you show us that you are not only, that is a domestic merging, so could you show us that you are now an European company?
Yeah, sure. I think that we are already present in, we have clients in more than 50 countries, and we are serving 4 different geographies, because we are for sure present in the merchant and card space, but we are also very strong in the payments, domestic and also international payments, in the RTGS system, in the CSD system. So we have a portfolio of solutions that are really differentiated. And for example, we are involved in the renewal of the core system for the Bank of Canada, so for the RTGS. And in Europe, we are working in France, in the UK, in Germany. So I think that the payments market is really becoming global, but especially European. We have 35% of our revenues coming already from Europe and international business. And I think that this is a clear trend. What could help? I think that we will discuss also later, but for sure SEPA to me or PSD2 are 2 good examples of how in Europe we can speed up or accelerate the adoption of a standard framework that can enable to become both the player and for sure the citizen, but also the players that are in that space truly European, because this could help in focusing all the investments, because otherwise, if you have to invest in all the domestic schemes, it's becoming complex for also for the players. But if we have a standard that is going clearly across Europe, this could really help a lot in becoming European. And where we can be already, we are. And when I think that in the future we will be more focused towards Europe, because as you were mentioning, this MOU that we have signed with the Nexi is pretty domestic. So we are creating a champion in Italy, but for sure the next step is exploring Europe, because in Italy I think that there's no any more space to grow. So this is for sure one of our objectives.
Thank you. Rodolphe, your name is STED, but behind STED there is Société de Traitement et d'Exploitation de Transactions. It's a very international name. So could you explain how you have evolved to an European company?
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation and to be part of this panel. I'm really proud to be there with you today. So, first of all, I would say that Europe is part of the DNA of STET since its creation, because the creation of STET arrived when SEPA payments were starting, and the first payments we processed in our system were SEPA payments. So, of course, we are processing a lot of payments for the French market and for other market, but we are not a pure national player. So we are payment agnostic. We are processing all kind of payments, from the card business to the SEPA payments to legacy payments for the French and the Belgian community, and we are part of all the European discussion on interoperability and all the stuff around connectivity in Europe. We are a large player. We are probably the largest one in Europe, especially because UK will leave soon the Europe, and we will be the largest one. And we are processing right now more than 25 billion transactions per year, so it's quite huge. Part of that, it's 8 billion transactions for the authorization of the card business in France, of course. But we are clearing and doing the clearing and settlement for all the SEPA payments and payments for the French and Belgian community. So that's really huge volume, and huge part of the European volumes. Of course, we are really critical. We are a critical system, highly supervised and monitored by the ECB, and with a lot of certification, and especially we are part of the few SIPs. Probably you know what is a SIPs. It's a systemically important payment system in Europe, so we are part of this small group. Of course, there are advantage and constraint because we are highly regulated, but also advantage because we are a level of resiliency and performances that are needed for this certification and that we have right now. And we are a trusted partner for all the banks, as our governance is the banking area. The banks are a part of our governance, and we are a trusted partner, and we are offering a fraud scoring service around all the payments and all types and means of payments of our portfolio.
Thank you. Jacques, you are the only one that in your name you have SEPA and EU. SEPA, mail.eu, the two names. Thank you. But you are French now. What you are doing to be European? Show us.
So first, thanks a lot for being part of this panel. Probably I've sent before some slides, so perhaps it will be quite useful to have those slides display now, if it's possible, of course.
Is it possible to show
yes, that? In fact, I want to avoid the bell if I'm too long, so I prefer to show, this one. And so I prefer to have some slides showing what is the part of responsibility of SEPAMEL, which doesn't mean at all single euro payment area, because it's secure exchange, paperless, thinking about digital, okay? Oh. So, thanks a lot. I've seen some slides. Yeah, they are. So, as you can see on those slides, what is the perimeter of SEPAMEL? And going back to your first question, I'm totally in line with the explanation of Jacques. Of course, not only because he has a very good first name, I totally agree with his first name, but secondly, because from the beginning, we are a EU company. You insist on the fact that behind SEPAMEL you have .eu. It's mainly to say that we are in mind European. In a nutshell, SEPAMEL is an interbank market infrastructure that ensures through its scheme exchange of information of flow in relation with bank account, more than payment, in a state-of-the-art, secure way. So perhaps I'm the bad guy inside of this panel, because I'm not at all a payment scheme. I should say that I'm an overlay scheme beyond the payment itself. Somewhere, and I will take the image because I'm a former rugby player, we are above the scrum of a patchwork of national solution or payment solution. Of course, we are not at all payment agnostic, but we are payment system agnostic, okay? The building roots of CEPAMEL are based on a European concept. First, our membership is composed of actors covered by the PSD2, first. Second, all our message standards are based on ISO 2022-1, which are widely used in Europe. And third, all the SEPA application are the other layers, one more time, of SEPA payment and answering also to payment account directive. So it's a scheme open to, yes, I ring the bell, not an issue for me. So it's a scheme for all payment players, third-party player or account servicing players, regardless of their country of origin. And to end this introductory remarks, I think CEPAMEL application through what we offer answer needs which are common to all European countries, all European players, like banking account switching, because as of today, CEPAMEL has a monopoly in France to have the banking account switching, fight against fraud with diamond application, request to pay or invoicing, which are not national at all, but European.
Thank you, Corinna, now.
Thank you very much. And now I think we are convinced, all of you, you are the European people. That is sure. So in this case, with regard to the current major project, you are API, you are digital money, but also PSD2, and also the open banking and open payment. What are for you the brakes or accelerator for the building to the new payment industry? Maybe Jacques, you can tell us your vision.
So it's a quite interesting, really interesting question, because let's start with the brakes. And I think the biggest brake for innovation, and especially for the speed of innovation, is a lot at the banks themselves. So it's a lot about culture, the legacy, and really willing to change something, and not only to digitalize existing products which already exist. So to think out of the borders and out of the normal banking life. And I think that's the biggest break what we have seen the last 3 years with the banks. And it's quite hard to change this point internally at the bank. So the biggest acceleration is collaboration. So if a fintech or a bank, if a bank wants to innovate, they can collaborate with other banks, like they did in our case. We are bank owned. So banks created together a new entity who is doing innovation in the name for the shareholders, but not only for the shareholders, but for all their customers. It's a nice way, and it works. There's a lot of discussion regarding to have big problems, what are the brakes, what are the enabler, but we discuss too much, I think so. We need to do. And if banks really are completely okay with you when you discuss about these critical points, but if really they go to action, it's quite hard to change this. So finally, I think I'm a PSD2 company, so I'm open banking, and we are convinced that PSD2 allows that payments will be done directly at the bank and also in an e-commerce scenario. So banks have now all the possibility to really create amazing payment experience through their APIs of PSD2, and not only to block it with 2 SCAs and complicate the situation. No, it's a real opportunity for Europe that we have now this regulatory framework to create a new payment way. It's not a new payment method, but I pay with my credentials of the banks, at the bank, at the e-commerce, and allowing also everyone who have not a credit card to participate in this e-commerce scenario, which becomes more and more important now also due to COVID-19. I think we have now really, due to the framework of the European Commission, the possibility to create flows, methods, to be independent of other big regions of the world, and to create something where also is in the favor of the financial institution, together with the fintechs which can help to enable this new technology and to work together on it. But I think we can be very proud where we are today in open banking. Banks did their homework. Some small parts needs to be done, but now take advantage on the European level to create new payment methods or payment ways. Payment method is also a term that I don't like. So no payment way where the final customer just can pay at his bank wherever he wants to shop in the e-commerce. I think that's our view, and it's all about, and this is only possible if there exists a really strong will of collaboration and the openness of change in the financial institution. And that's a European project.
Thank you, Jack. And you, Rodolphe, as like automatic clearing houses, what is your vision? What is your position on that?
Yeah, just as I told you, more than 60% right now of our payments process in our system are cards. But also we had in mind the European landscape and the enhancement in Europe. And so we invest a lot in an instant payment solution. And it's a pan-European instant payment solution that we launched 2 years ago. That is really pan-European, as it's connected right now to other ACH, instant payment ACH, and we will be connected also to TIPS at the end of the year. So it's part of our strategy, but our strategy, European strategy development, is around four major pillars. The first one is something that we will call the community level pillar. It's part of what we already done, proposing alone or with other European partners, some solution for some communities that doesn't have any infrastructure. So that's something that we already done with the Belgium, successfully done with the Belgium community. Secondly, the second pillar is some services we could offer to EPI and to the new EPI scheme as a technical provider. And as I told you, we have a lot of knowledge in the card business, in instant payments, but we are also part of the digital world as we are providing a lot of services around that, tokenization. We are also proposing for the French market, for Paylib, the database proxy that is doing the relationship between the mobile number and the IBAN. We have a digital hub allowing digital users to enroll their cards in their wallet. So we have a lot of services around the processing services that we are providing. And of course, one of the major and one of our strategical services is also fraud scoring. We are at the state-of-the-art, we are proposing state-of-the-art fraud scoring solution, and we are enhancing our solution usually using artificial intelligence solution to be really at the best of the breed for the solution of fraud scoring. Thirdly, we could also offer some help to the banking community for the transition. As you understand, API will start in the next few years, but there will be a long migration. It will not be a big bang. So we want to be there also to try to help the bank to migrate to this new API scheme. And finally, the last point, probably the most important one, is that with the new schemes, the new EPI scheme, the banking community will need to have some major enhancement in their infrastructure, in their environment. So we aim also to help them in that part, proposing, mutualizing some services for them as a trusted partner, as we are doing it right now in France.
And you, Daniele, what happened with SIA, the future of the FIA on this area with big transformation?
No, for sure. I think that the market is there is a trend of consolidating the player in the market to enable synergies and having the capabilities to do the proper investments. And we have done several investments in these new payment methods. For sure, instant payments. We are also providing services to EBA clearing, and we developed Step 2 and the instant payment platform for them. And therefore, we are very happy that these instruments will take a huge portion of the market. I think that PSD2 is a good step. Is not probably, I think that it is a guideline, so it's not a standard, and this didn't help a lot, the convergence, because, for example, we have 120, 130 banks in Italy that are working on our gateway. We have implemented the Berlin Group standard, but, for example, if we have to integrate some bank in Germany, we prefer to use a gateway in Germany to engage them, because otherwise, if we have to implement the different API implementation that each bank have done, it's becoming a huge investment. And therefore, I think that you have to prioritize the investments, go in the big markets, and this is not helping. I hope that in the near future there will be a clarification also in this scheme that is very, very important for the adoption of a common rail in Europe. And I think that also the reachability is important. And if you want to use the instant payment as a killer payment methods for many, let me say, use cases, especially on the B2B. So basically, if you want to pay in the store or for a merchant, you have to have this reachability guaranteed. Therefore, I hope that sooner or later all the banks will adopt the instant payments, or this become a regulation or a request to all the banks in the future. And these two, I think these two instruments together will become a real powerful weapon to kill. Not kill, but go in different markets in Europe and create a real common way of payments with a lot of use cases that you can build also with the help of the fintech, because fintech are pushing a lot, are creative, are creating a lot of use cases, are replacing the old way or the old schemes or attitude to new and more useful and comfortable way of payment. So I think that these different ingredients will create the proper recipe for the convergence and the success of the payments, common payments rail in Europe.
Thank you, Daniele. And Jacques, with SEPAMail, which is a real offer, how you contribute to reachability and other project will become in the payment?
So I have nothing to say because you have put the ring. Okay, thank you. I think at Eurogene we have that we need to think European first. So today I don't think we have to define or to promote a national champion, but we need to really think European, to be at the right level. And To second totally what has been said by Fabrice or by Carlo previously, we need to be competitive in the world in front of US championship or Asian ones. So you talk also about accelerators or brake in the presentation, and I will take an example of with my hat of chairman of the electronic invoice of multi-stakeholder group at EPC level. We have to work hardly about a lot of difficulties to find the right way to solve a lot of issues. And what I've seen is that before Brexit, we have strongly great barriers to obtain a real European way of thinking. And of course, the Ministry of Finance is not anymore physically present, so I could say that. What I've seen in the last year works is the tax issue. When you go deeper in all the subject about invoice, for instance, what you see is that at tax level, we are very, very far away of a European point of view. You have national specificity who impeach any interoperability between all the schemes because, oh, sorry, we have to think about this tax specificity of my national country. So, for me, it's one way to progress at the European level, it's to solve these tax issues first. After things that, when you talk about brakes or accelerators, for me, the three main accelerators at three different levels. The legislative field, first. In particular, we can take, for instance, this electronic invoice improvement, or even the payment account directive, because Eric Ducolombier was there previously. We have thinking about PSD2, etc. But remember that we have also to think about payment account directive, which can give a great impulse on different account things, account switching, etc. We have the second accelerators, it's standard. Europe of tomorrow needs to have a real European scheme based mainly on ISO 2022, and we have to continue with those standards to supplant all national specificity. And except in very rare exception, all the market's needs are the same all over Europe. And we have to be to answer with real European solution. And to hand this, I think we have two examples. The first, and we have discussed a lot this afternoon, it's about EPI. But the second one is what we try to put in place with the request to pay, which has been built first at a totally European scheme level to ensure reachability and interoperability all over the world, all over Europe first. Why I say all over the world is because what we have seen in the discussion at ISO standards, it's great country like Canadian country, Brazilian country, Singapore are following us. So we are a European example followed by the world itself at RTP level.
Thank you very much, Jack.
So
2 minutes now.
Yes, 2 minutes, yes, but it's very quick because we are the last item to discuss. We understood the payment industry, it must be based on common standard and same policy, the same scheme. So what is the next step for you, Rodolphe?
Yes. Yes, exactly. I think that after a phase of market consolidation between ACH in Europe, and I will probably take the example of Worldline buying a lot of CSMs in Europe, I think that's something that Fabrice mentioned also before. The acceleration will take place if we allow the competition or the competitive market to organize well itself. And I'm thinking about the danger that would be the suppression or the removal of local or national ACH or infrastructure, because I think we are not providing the same services as the central bank may provide in the future. We are providing services that are value-added services around our services, fraud scoring, request to pay, other services that will be there and we need to have also the proximity with the banks. So that's really important. And so the market will accelerate if there is a competitive level and if the same level playing field is there for all the players in the market.
Second one.
And Jacques, what is your next step for you?
2 minutes or so.
I just want to really also agree with Daniele. It's that PSD2 is only a framework and not a standard, and that's really a big blocking point. And what's really missing is the payment guarantee through PSD2 API calls for due payments. But we need to keep in mind that payment is only an utility. So let's make it transparent as much as possible. I think that's the next step to do, like Uber is already doing it. And if you're thinking about payment, till now, all the economy came to the banks to do the payment, and I really defend the point that the banks need now to go into the economy and integrate in the user way how you have to do payment. Payment is just a small part of each business. So let's make it easier, and we need for this really more standardization. Like you mentioned, Daniele, is really, we have 4,500 banks, and I think in Europe we need to comply to PSD2. We have different standards. So we did now a standard payment API for whole Luxembourg as example, but there was need for this because there were no regulation and no standardization. And banks need to understand that they have something so worthful now with PSD2. They can create value-added services, and we need to let the final customer pay at the bank directly. We don't need anymore this intermediate industry for the banks. And so my view is really to help banks to go this way and to understand and to take advantage of the open banking and not see it only as a cost point like they're doing it right now.
Thank you, Jack. And Daniele, what is the next step for you?
Oh, I agree with the Jacques, and I think that the standardization and the regulatory support is clearly creating that conditions that will enable the competition, and this competition will foster for sure the price of the payment and the quality of the service. And agree that then there is the creativity in integrating these payments, seamless payments, so very easy way to make payments in a use case that is more valuable for the customer. And this is something that could happen in the next 1 or 2 years. We are also looking at the digital euro that is actually becoming a topic recently. So there was also the central bank with Mr. Panetta discussing about the need for thinking at least to the digital euro. Also, always, let me say, issued by the central bank in a regulated environment. And this could also enable the digitalization of different other use cases, sorry. And we see this not happening next year, but probably in the near future. So probably in the medium long term, this will become a reality because the technology is already there. I think that we have to work a lot on the regulation, on the model, and especially on the scalability. But when we prove this, this will become another way of standardizing payments because imagine, so the banknote today are the real standard in Europe, and I think that tomorrow this could become, another standard in Europe.
Thank you very much, Daniele. And Jacques?
to hand to the last one, yeah. The first thing I think we shouldn't forget what is the most important thing is that we are, in fact, service provider all over in this room or even on the screen about
3 minutes.
Yeah, well, I have no problem with 3 minutes. I think we are all service provider and service provider to answer customers' needs. I think what is the most important words I have not here now, it's what is the customer journey. And for me, it's the most important thing we have to think about. We are all European citizens, and all those European citizens have the same needs. They need some evolution in the digital payments, in the digital infrastructure to ease, click and collect things like that. So avoiding thinking about national specificities, I think now the next steps is to try to build solution either from scratch at European level with a good European governance. That's what has been processed at EPI level, or that's what we try to put in place at the EPI scheme or request to pay scheme, which are a good example. For instance, if it's not possible to start from scratch, we need to ensure real partnership, which is not to impose one solution, one national solution to other users, but to have a real partnership, European partnership, centralizing bodies to which we will recognize legitimacy to speak with one voice. In this case, we have to offer in one hand the solution, but also to share the governance. We need, in fact, to skip all national logic and to have through European standard and European governance, avoiding this national competition inside of the euro area. Competition is worldwide now, and the more we are united, the stronger we are. Last but not least, remember what is the meaning of SEPA, not SEPAMEL, SEPA. For me, the two most important words are single and area.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for our people. Thank you, Jacques. Thank you, Jacques, Rodolphe, and Daniele. And good luck for all your projects, for each one. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.